Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome to my podcast. This is Kara Stories with Ibilola, a podcast that focuses on sharing immigrant stories as they navigate through their careers in a foreign land, be it the first job or the ideal job. I've realized that our stories differ, our experiences differ, and sometimes the motivation behind the actions we took also differ. So I thought of who is sharing our stories, who's talking about it. How do we connect with each other? How do we learn from each other? Why not let's have a platform whereby we get to document and talk about what our individual experiences was like when we were trying to settle into that new country. For me, which is Canada, when we were trying to settle in, trying to get the first job, the initial pressure of, hey, I need the first job. I need to get a job. I'm trying to fit into the system. I want to know what is required of me. And at some point, sometimes when the job is not forthcoming, you start to say, hey, I just need any job, like whatsoever. Let me just get the first. And for some of us, the advice we got is, hey, just get any job. The first job might not be the ideal job, but make sure that you're stepping into the career space, step into the work experience. And once you get into the system, what happens? The opportunities for the ideal come out. So I've heard several stories and I realized that it's not the same for everyone. Some people actually wait back, they took their time and they got the ideal job for the first job. While some tried several, they didn't even know what an ideal job means to them. And eventually, after few trials, after few stepping in and out, they got their ideal job. So who's talking about these stories? I believe this podcast would help you and I to learn to connect first with one another. Because if you ask me why stories are powerful. Stories are so powerful. If you want to connect to any child, use the power of story. If you're going to connect to even adults, use the power of story. So storytelling is so powerful. And when it is your personal experience you're sharing with others, what happens again is that you have a feeling of liberation. You're able to measure your progress. You might not have known how far you've gone until you talk about it. You have a reason to talk about it. So I believe this podcast and this platform is going to help us to measure how far we have gone in our career journey, or probably it's going to be for someone who is just trying to settle into the new country. It's going to be some sort of guide, a path to know what step to take. I believe this podcast is going to go far and wide, and wherever you're listening from, you would have something fantastic to connect to. So sit back, enjoy, and have a wonderful time listening to conversations on career stories with people like you, people like me, all over the world, immigrants in focus. Thank you. Welcome back. So today, being the first episode, I'm going to be sharing my personal story, my career story, how it has been and what it is like. Well, it is not the sophisticated kind of story. That might not be your experience, but in one way or the other, there might just be someone like me out there who is also trying to see how do I start, or where do I start from, or what am I supposed to do to figure out a clear path in terms of my career. So we moved to Canada December 2018 with my family, and luckily for us as a family, I came in pregnant with my second child. So you know what that means? I didn't have so much energy to explore. I was a little bit weak, tired and all that, but of course I had that resilience in me that I need to get something done. And more so, I also wanted to position myself to be able to enjoy employment insurance benefit during my maternity leave. So I knew I needed to get a job. So what were my options? I felt I wouldn't be able to digging into looking for human resource job. My background is human resources. I had over 8 years experience back home in Nigeria in human resources, talent management precisely, and business partnering in with the telecom space, in the consulting space, and some of manufacturing too. So I got to Canada and I was trying to get the first job. Purpose being to be able to secure employment insurance benefits. Then when I saw the timeline, delivery wasn't too far. I was midway in the pregnancy. The options, the advice I got is just get a customer service job. Got to get a customer service job. Since you're not going to be in there for a very long time, just pick one. And as it is, that was my first job, customer service role. And I stayed in there for about 3 months. I started February 20. I started March 2019. And I was there till June. April, May, June, end of June. Yeah, I was there till the end of June. And that was my first experience. That was what gave me the Canadian experience. And I went into maternity leave for 1 year. So when it was time for me to get off maternity leave, I knew customer service is not my thing. I was really positioning myself for my thing. And before then, I had a bit of exploration. When I say exploration, everybody would be asking you that, so what do you want to do? What do you like doing? This is an environment that can have you switch career. If peradventure what you were doing back home wasn't interesting to you, you were not enjoying it, you're in an environment that you can suddenly wake up to your dream job or your childhood fantasy of who you wanted to be. Like myself, I used to want to be a lawyer. Well, anyway, I'm not pursuing that. So yeah, I was at that moment also thinking that what should I try? And guess what? I tried few things, and I'll tell you what I tried. I tried that at that moment. That was this time that data science was just evolving, and of course it was the big gig. Everybody was going into it. They were paying them much, and all that. Of course, it's still a big deal. So I said, okay, let me also try if that could flow with me. Like I was going to try the data analysis, and I started taking up free courses, some on Coursera, and some just general videos. I had one of my friends share some links with me, and I started. But you know what? Along the way, I felt stuck. Like the coding and the programming language and all that wasn't just my thing. I wasn't flowing. I was not progressing. I tried it for about 2-3 weeks, and I said that I wasn't connecting. And in fact, I just got to a conclusion that no, not everybody will be a data scientist. This is not me. This doesn't flow. This is not my kind of person. This is not how my brain is wired to think of work. So I dropped it. Then another time, I thought of okay, I like to speak. Communication flows easily with me. I love to convince people. I love to express myself. And the real estate industry is actually booming here in Canada. Really booming. People are cashing out. And I'm like, wow, what does it take to be a real estate person, a realtor? It was never my dream because it's a whole lot of different outlook back in Nigeria. But here is thriving, it's this, and I'm like, oh, why not? And everybody kept telling me, oh, Ibilola, you can actually be a realtor, you can actually do this, you can speak, you can do this and all that. Oh, you'll be able to sell, you'll be good at it. So I decided to give it a try. Yeah. How did that go? Well, it didn't go bad. It went well. But at some point, I couldn't keep up with the commitment of writing the examinations. Why? Which is peculiar. The reasons are peculiar to my kind of circumstances, family, and all that. So I couldn't keep up with the reading. I read the third exam. I didn't pass it. I wasn't scared of trying again, but my mom was around taking care of my son then, and she was about leaving. And I just saw the whole thing, and I felt, no, at this time, this cannot fit into my lifestyle. It can't fit into, I won't be able to give the commitment required to this papers and all that. So I stepped down. Now, stepping down doesn't mean that I've traded that dream. It's still there in my heart. I'm exploring other ways I can play in that industry, the real estate industry, maybe without necessarily be a realtor. Or maybe peradventure, if I still want to go into it, it could be a long-term goal, but definitely not fit into my lifestyle. And with that, I want to really say something that as an individual, while trying to explore what works for you, you want to have an inward evaluation that, does this align with my current reality? Does this fit into my lifestyle? Now, don't be lazy when you're answering that question. Ensure you're not giving yourself excuses from stretching. Oh, I'm so big on stretching yourself, stretching your capacity. You can do it and all that. But there were some things I couldn't compromise that are in terms of priority. That means a lot to me, means a lot to my family. And it just didn't fit into that system at that time. Could there be an opportunity to embrace it later on? Yes, of course. I see an opportunity in the future to embrace it. So that was how I explored real estate, and I gave a pause on that. So what was now finally my option? I asked myself, I have over 8 years experience in human resources, and this is an environment that there is no career discrimination. There's nothing like, oh, you have this experience back home, you don't have it here. As long as you're able to showcase your skills, you're able to present yourself and sell yourself, you can get a job. So I decided to develop myself, package my resume together, rewrite everything to showcase the skills that I've earned in the past years, which is human resources. And within a couple of weeks, I got now this becomes my first ideal job as a HR coordinator in one of the homes very close to where I live. So that's my journey. The opportunity to step into your ideal job might not initially come as a full-time role. It might be a contract role, but what it will do for you is that it's going to help you to step into that space and know what is working in that industry. It boosts your career, it boosts your resume, and it puts you in the face of recruiters, hiring organizations. When they see that you're already in that space, they are more confident to bring you on board or to even invite you for a chat, which was what I did for the temporary job for the HR coordinator. And by the time the contract was over, I was already interviewing for the current role I am, which is also a HR job. So that is my story of finding my ideal job. Right now, am I still in that ideal job? Yes. Am I thinking of what my next ideal job could be? Yes. Is this still related to what I'm doing? Yeah, it is. But I'm also thinking of how to expand it. I want us to make the best use of this environment we have found ourselves. Don't box yourself. There is room to explore. There's room to be, and there's room to earn. So maximize this opportunity depending on what fits into your lifestyle. Arrange your priorities and pick an option that suits into what is your lifestyle at this point. When I mean lifestyle, I'm not talking only about your personal self. I'm asking you to put your family in perspective. We don't want to be in a system whereby as we're trying so hard to explore or to move up some major aspects of our life, like family, is being wounded. No, that's not what we are. That's not what we are portraying. And we want to make sure that we have a life that is balanced in both ends. And that's come to the end of my career story for today, which I am the first, and I'm excited doing this. In the subsequent weeks, this is going to be a bi-weekly podcast. Subsequent weeks, we're going to be inviting guests. And if you're hearing this for the first time and you're like, oh, you have a story that is going to inspire others about your career journey, why not hit me up wherever you're seeing this podcast from? Send me a message. I read my messages. Send me a message. Tell me, I think I have a story that can inspire people. What makes your story like your story doesn't even have to be unique to you. It's just a story. Just tell us. Don't even think there's nothing about it, right? It is when you pay attention to it that you realize that there's actually something unique about your story. So let's share, let's learn, and let's thrive. I'm excited. I'm doing this with you. And till I see you again next 2 weeks, keep enjoying God. Bye.